Welcome to Indian time. It's been a while since I've been here doing a new show. It's been time of the year where everything gets pretty busy, so we'll do our best to keep you informed and new shows coming, but I'm sure you had to watch some reruns lately, but like I said, it's a busy time of the year for us. This month is May, which is the Spetlam Spaqani, it's the bitterroot month. And place names for this show will be Nayaik, which is hot springs, and which is also known as Markle Pass, just south of Hot Springs. Activities for this month is usually digging the bitterroot as one of the main things. I'm going to talk about that today. The bitterroot and other preparation, getting ready for the long food gathering season, medicinal plant gathering season. A long time ago, Indian people had to be prepared and be ready to go and do these things because their livelihood depended on how much food they had and how much medicine they had to carry them through the winter. Although today we can go down to the IGA store or in somewhere and get our food, today it's still a very important part of our values and our culture, and our elders encourage us to continue some of the practices that they learned and have gone through. So we went out and had a bitterroot feast on the what's today? Today's the 4th. On the 3rd of May, we went out and had a bitterroot feast, and it's not a set day every year. Every year, someone has to go out and look at it, and as soon as it's ready, they let us know. Some of the things, I guess, other than by the time you view this show, there had been a Head Start powwow, which was the 3rd, I keep forgetting today, the 4th of May, and on the weekend, the 5th on Friday night, I think, and Saturday is a Job Corps powwow over the weekend. And coming up on Tuesday, the 8th, will be the Elders meeting. The Elders meeting was supposed to have been last Wednesday, but because of the bitterroot feast, because the bitterroot was ready, we had to go ahead with the bitterroot feast, and then we moved our Elders meeting, which will be Tuesday, May 8th. This is May, and we'll have one more meeting in June, hopefully, and then we will be off for a few months. Also coming up on May the 9th, which is a Wednesday, will be the cultural workshop that we have down in St. Ignatius, and I encourage everyone to participate in this. It's from 9:30 to 3:30, and I hope that a lot of the tribal employees, this is basically for tribal employees to give them an opportunity to come in and ask questions or learn from the elders. But it's open to everyone that is interested in it. What we do is we have about 4 or 5 different groups of elders at tables, and the people that want to learn can come in and select what group they want to be with. Each group will be talking about different topics. and come in and sit down and ask questions, listen to the elders talk about certain things, and then ask questions. The elders encourage to ask questions. That's how you're going to learn. You need to ask questions. So that's the Wednesday. Another thing that I was asked to bring up is from one of the staff members. As you all know, one of the earlier shows, actually it was probably one of the first shows we had, I had Marie Terosian come up and talk about her job at the Culture Committee, and basically she's been working on the pictures, archives, and what happens is people that have donated pictures to the Culture Committee, we have collected, and she catalogs them, she puts them on the computers, and that way people can come and get copies and save pictures. We encourage you to bring your pictures in. If you allow us to make copies of your original pictures, you'll get your original pictures back. If you want to just donate your pictures, we can do that too. What we want to do is trying to collect as many photos for the archives as possible to help preserve the history. There is one picture that Marie has asked me to bring up, and this is part of the veterans collection. The veteran picture that Leo Carpenter brought in is not able to identify who that person is. So if you can identify this picture, if you know who this picture is, please call Marie down at the Longhouse at 745-4572. Also, if you have veteran pictures, veterans that are in uniform, and you haven't talked to Marie yet, give her a call. We're collecting veteran pictures that are veterans that are in uniform, and we're putting it on the wall down at the Longhouse. So, and you're more than welcome at any time to come down and take a look at these pictures. And it's a way for us to honor our veterans, our people who have served our country, not only the United States, but Indian country, our Indian people who have given so much of their lives and their families to help preserve what we have today. So I encourage you, if you have relatives, friends that are in uniform, tribal members, please bring them down, and we can display them for you. Well, we're going back to today's topic. Again, I guess we'll talk a little bit about the bitterroot feast. The bitterroot feast has been something that's been going on for many, many, many years. And I think that it's changed over the years because of the mode of travel that is today compared to a long time ago. A long time ago, I think individual families or individual groups had their own little ceremonies to give thanks and pray at this time of the year. The bitterroot is one of the very first foods that appears in the springtime. So at this time, when we honor the bitterroot, we welcome the bitterroot back, we also pray for the rest of the foods that are coming in the coming year. The foods, medicinal plants, all of those that are important to us are also included in our prayers as we pray during the bitterroot feast. Today, or on the last Wednesday when we went out to the bitterroot feast, we had all ages out there. We had from the oldest, Agnes Paul, who is 91 years old, to her great-great-granddaughter, who is 14 months old, Geneva. I think her name was Geneva Barafato, who was 14 months old. So we had a wide range of people out there helping us dig and get ready for our feast. We had some of those that were fairly active, digging bitterroot, and we had some of those that were pretty relaxed and just enjoying the company of other people and telling stories. I'm told that in earlier times that this was basically the women who went out and dug the bitterroot. The men that went along were mostly there to protect the women while they dug the bitterroot. As we know, a long time ago, there were still enemy tribes and other enemies around to. So that's what the role of the men was to go out and protect. Although today our role has changed a lot, we do a lot of different things now that was not done a long time ago. So it was a nice day. The day turned out well. A lot of people showed up, and I want to thank, excuse me, I want to thank all those people that showed up and came and helped and supported trying to keep this way of life, this tradition alive. The bitterroot is, as you all know, is only good for a short period of time. And every year, a long time ago, somebody was appointed to watch over the bitterroot and to keep checking it at this time of the month in May to get ready. As soon as the bitterroot was ready, people were notified to gather and to do the bitterroot feast, to have a ceremony, to pray, to give thanks for this root. And once it was ready, people gathered. And as we did yesterday, Felicity McDonald from our office staff went out and checked it that week before and said it was ready, that we needed to do it right away because of the short period of time that it's easy to peel. Once that blooms, once it starts drying up, then you can't peel it anymore, so it's no more good. So when she said it was ready, we had to put everything else aside and go out there and dig the bitterroot. Also, we know that it's a pinkish, it's kind of a light-colored, light pinkish, kind of a whitish or pinkish flower. And once that blooms, then it's no more good. It's about 1 to 2 inches, varies in size. And when we get out there, lately what we've been doing is once we get out there, one of our elders, and in the past years it's been Agnes Paul, who usually selects a young maiden, a young lady, to dig the very first root. And once that root is dug, is given to an elder to clean and to give thanks for. And that's a process that was passed down to some of the people. As we all know, as I said earlier, a lot of the people a long time ago, because we're unable to travel, that how we do that today. Today we can go miles and miles in just a few hours. Back then it was either walking or by horse. So a lot of the individual families and groups had their own ceremonies. Some might vary from another's, but these are some of the things that we're doing today that have been shared to us by some of the elders. And we're trying to keep that and trying to pass those on to our people. And the roots are long, and sometimes you luck out and they're 6 to 8 inches. Sometimes some years are small. This year they were very good, and there was quite an abundance of bitterroot out there. And I'd like to also at this time thank Mr. Cross for allowing us to use his land to dig the bitterroot. As the tribes at this time, we don't, the areas that the abundance with the bitterroot are all private owned. So Sid Cross has been very good to us in the past few years in allowing us to dig on his property. I understand that the tribes have purchased some land that from another cross, West Cross, south of Sid's place, so hopefully now the tribes have their own area to dig. And again, I'd like to thank Sid for his generosity for allowing us to be on his property. And I encourage everyone, our tribal members who utilize Sid's property to make sure that when you're done digging, to scatter your peelings off from the bitterroot and clean up the area, make sure you don't leave any garbage. We need to respect not only the land, but we need to respect the landowner for allowing us to be there. With that, we'll take a short break and then I'll come back and tell you a little more.
The choices we make today affect our options for tomorrow. I choose not to smoke and pursued my ability to sing. I've been able to travel, make new friends, and see different cultures. Choose carefully. Don't limit your future.
Welcome back to Indian Time for the second part of our show. Again, the place names for this show is Nyaik. In Nyaik, which is what we call hot springs today, that's talking about the hot water that's coming from underneath the ground. And the other one is Papaschi, I guess it is Papaschi, Papaschi, which is what Suyapis call Marco Pass. That's just south of Hot Springs, between Hot Springs and Camas Prairie. That's the place names. Earlier I was talking about the bitterroot. This is the bitterroot month in May. Also, some of the things that happen in May is on May the 5th in 1909, the United States sold reservation land to non-Indians for $1.25 to $7 an acre. That was in 1909. And on the May the 10th in 1882, a big canoe, a Kalispel or Pend Oreille chief, passed away. And on the 15th of May in 1929, the death of Upper Pend Oreille chief Sapied Michel, or Camas Prairie, from Camas Prairie, Pend Oreille, also passed away. On the 22nd of May, 1909, President Taft proclaimed the Flathead Reservation land to be open to non-Indians. On May the 23rd, in 1930, construction began on Kerr Dam. It was suspended July 1st, 1931, due to the Depression. On May the 25th in 1908, the National Bison Range was established on the reservation lands that were taken by the United States. Also on the same day, on the 25th in 1948, Congress authorized funds to compensate tribes for land used for tribal irrigation project. On the 29th of May, we have that in 1908, Congress amended the Flathead Allotment Act to allow the non-Indians to receive water from the irrigation project and for other purposes. Those were some of the events that took place in May. Back to the bitterroot feast and dinner, or bitterroot, and our digging at this time of the year is, again, as I said earlier, is a practice that has been passed down and been going on from generation to generation. And I encourage employees, program managers, department heads to participate, to learn about the values of who we are as Indian people. These values, these cultural events that were given to us by our parents and great-grandparents and our ancestors, this gives us the right to say who we are here on the reservation, and we need to make sure that those events are kept alive and that we continue to do this and pass this on to future generations. And it becomes harder and harder every year to remember some of the things that have taken place because our elders are leaving us. And if we don't learn from our elders today, who's going to teach us? Who's going to teach our children and our grandchildren? So it's something that we need to really take a step back and take a hard look at the values of keeping these alive, keeping these events going. At the bitterroot, excuse me, the bitterroot has been studied, scientifically in recent years, and has been determined that the bitterroot is actually a good medicine. It's a medicine, it's a heart medicine because of what it does to the blood. It thins out the blood. If you eat this as a regular diet, it helps thin the blood out in your system, and therefore preventing clogged arteries. So you think back and look at the food and the types of food that our ancestors ate many years ago. It was not rare, it was very common to see a lot of our older people running around doing things. Today we get up 50, 55 years old and we can't even move. Our elders back then, were 80s, 90s, and we've had some people that lived over 100 years old. These people were very active all the way to the end, and that was because the different food they ate, the different things that was in their bodies. After the bitterroot feast, we look forward now to June, which next will be the camas, which is another important part of our food, our diet. So next month I'll be talking to you about the camas. But the bitterroot, you go out and you clean it. The elders have said if you cleaned it, and you can put it down to sun dry it, and if you keep it, store it properly, you can keep it for years and years and years, and then bring some out whenever you're hungry, and then you can boil it, mix it with dried berries, other dried berries to help add flavor and sweetener to it. So there was a lot of different ways you can cook it, and a lot of different, the favorite way was to steam cook it just with steam and let it, they call it suwoot. And back then, they used berries to help sweeten it. Now we have all kinds of sweeteners, sugar to help it, to help us eat some of the things that might seem bitter, but back then it was a big part of our elders' diet. So it could be dug, cleaned, and stored, and it could last for many, many years. And this was something that they had to go out and dig. If you didn't go out and dig in that short period of time, when it was easy to clean, then you probably had to worry about when the winter came along that you didn't have any of this food. So a long time ago, the Indian people didn't wait and say, well, I don't feel like doing this today, maybe tomorrow. When it was ready, people went out and done it. They dug and gathered their food, and then they followed the season cycle, the season of the bitterroot, of food, of plants, all of those things that they had to be there and be ready to gather when it was ready. Otherwise, when the winter came, they would be in a lot of trouble and hurting. So that was one of the things that we talked about yesterday, some of the elders talked about, and encouraged the young people that were there to continue and hope that they would someday be doing the dinners and the gathering themselves. So it's always an education process for me. Whenever I go out with the elders, I always learn something new, something different, because as I said, the elders all come from mostly come from different communities, different backgrounds, so they all have something to share with us. So we need to to open our ears and listen. So next month, like I said, we'll be talking about other plants and other foods. Hopefully, we'll have a show coming up shortly as soon as we can get everything together and gathered on that special show that I talked about earlier on John Peter Paul, and that's coming up. We're still gathering some of the videos, footage that we took of him on some of our field trips. So hopefully we can get that put together soon and show you. It'll probably be a little longer than a half an hour, but this is going to be a special presentation. Again, going back to the archive pictures that I mentioned earlier, if you have any pictures that you want to donate or to share with the culture committees, please bring them down. We'll make copies of them, and they'll be in storage. They'll be there for people to see and to look at. Also, for those of you that know of a lot of the elders of the past, if you have time, come on down and make arrangements with Marie to come down and maybe help identify some of those pictures. We have a lot of pictures that are donated to us and that haven't been identified. So if you have the time, please come on down and talk to Marie and take a look at some of the pictures that we have. We have thousands of pictures. With that, I think we'll go ahead and close. We're running out of time, and I'd like to again thank all of you for joining me again, and hopefully we can, like I said, this is a busy time of the year. Hope we can get you some new shows coming up, and so you don't have to keep watching reruns, although reruns aren't that bad. Again, the place name for today is Naiaik, which is, again, hot springs, in Pashchi Tsusi, which is Markle Pass. And don't forget to join us for the elders meeting on Tuesday and cultural workshop on Wednesday the 9th. Thank you for joining me.